Today we head to Rockhampton in central Queensland to help an angler catch their dream fish. This region removed commercial netting a few years ago and now has a fabulous reputation for great fish numbers. This seems the perfect place to make dreams come true. All we have to do is get there and hope the fish cooperate. Yep, Brian, yes.
Yep.
There's one.
Excellent.
Come on, Brian, they're here.
They're playing the game, aren't they?
This show is proudly brought to you by Mercury Marine, BCF, ARB, and Spotter's Sunglasses. Today, our adventure takes us north, but already our plans have changed because someone decided they'd steal our beloved AFN truck from my driveway this week. We've now had to make alternative arrangements. I'm about to embark on a trip to help another angler catch a fish they've always dreamed of, and having my car damaged wasn't part of the plan. As much as you realise that sometimes there's some bad eggs in society, they're definitely a minority, because within hours of my car being stolen, I had so many calls for help, including one from a local mate who runs a hire car business, has very kindly loaned us a car for this trip. All we've got to do now, wait for our bucket list angler to arrive, and we are on the road. Having a mate loan me a car that will tow the boat is a lifesaver. And being that these cars are hired to tourists hitting the beach around Double Island Point and Fraser Island in Queensland, I know it'll get the job done. Brian has won this trip after winning an auction at the annual Steve Irwin Gala dinner. And as a passionate angler, he has a dream fish in mind. My job is now to help him catch it. Brian is the operations manager at Australia Zoo, and his dream is to catch a barramundi. And being that he works with a team heavily associated with conservation, I know exactly the place to take him. Rockhampton is approximately 7 hours drive north of Brisbane and sits alongside the Fitzroy River. 2 years ago, the local council pushed to have commercial netting removed from the system and focus efforts on creating a recreational fishing haven. The river has quickly grown a reputation for producing top-class barramundi fishing, with many other species, such as the threadfin salmon, making a strong resurgence. Mate, why the barramundi?
Well, mate, thought about it, and it's one of those iconic species that all anglers want to catch, that 1 metre barra. So, and saying that, my young son has caught one, and he's got the bragging rights. So now it's me to one-up him. So I think this is an opportunity to prove to him that, yeah, I'm a barra fisherman also. But yeah, looking for that barra, never done it before, so really excited and looking forward to the challenge.
Rockhampton caters well for the travelling angler, with plenty of facilities to keep you on the water and well supplied with fishing and boating equipment. Before finding our accommodation, it's time to check into the local tackle store and get the latest information on fishing conditions, as well as those must-have lures. When travelling with a boat, nothing beats having a good place to house it near to your accommodation. We check in and begin mentally preparing for some big days on the water that will hopefully produce a barramundi for Brian. This is our lodging for the next week, and it's conveniently close to the river. All we're going to do now is set up, make plans for tomorrow, and then go find ourselves dinner. And Rockhampton is really well known for a great steak. Rockhampton is an historic town in regional Queensland. Gold was found here a couple of hundred years ago, and following, the town has grown as an agricultural hub. You can tell by walking the main streets that the place has a long-lived feel to it. Today it's a progressive town that, although it keeps its historic looks, it caters really well for travellers, offering top-class dining, accommodation, shopping facilities, and of course, a world-class fishery right on its doorstep. We are made to feel home on our first night in Rocky, and the anticipation builds as we begin to wonder what the Fitzroy River will offer in the days ahead. Thanks, mate. The real test begins now. We've got to go and find fish if we've got any chance of catching one. At the same time, we've got to teach a new angler the nuances of barramundi fishing. You good, mate?
Good to go.
Let's go. coming into the cooler months of the year now, and what's happened in the life cycle of the barramundi is that they've spawned, the juveniles hung around the mouth, and some patches of those fish have started to work their way up the river, and at some of those patches we're trying to find now. So just
back in there.
the front edge of that. Righto, mate. Barramundi can either be really easy to catch or very, very tough. So in a really short space of time, we're going to give you a crash course on how to use lures to hopefully have you getting bites and catching fish
Sounds
pretty
good.
shortly. And we're going to start using stuff like this. This is ultimately going to be the toughest part of this mission. In a really short space of time, I have to have Brian lure fishing well enough to fool a barramundi. Keeping in mind, this fish can be very fussy if conditions aren't exactly to their liking. Righto, mate, hold that for a sec. Most important thing to do right now is to try and get you a bite.
Sounds good.
And there's two ways to do this, two approaches. We can either agitate fish or we can get them to think that what we're throwing is part of the food chain. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that as soon as we get these on. First lures we're going to use today, what we call vibes. So they're soft, they feel like a fish, and they vibrate when you lift them and rip them through the water, and they also sink. So you can fish any depth of water with these. There's a lot to take on board, but I know that with a little knowledge and practice, Brian will be fishing well enough to catch one, given some time out here. I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to work this to hopefully get a bite. And the first thing you notice, you haven't fished with this before, but braided line is so important. It's bright so we can see the line, because that is the communication between us and that lure. It tells us exactly what this lure is doing. Then we've obviously got a stretch of leader, so 2 metres, so they're not going to actually see that line. But now we're going to work out exactly how to work this. So we cast it. We know those fish now are around there somewhere. So it's going to sink. Okay, so I'm watching that line. And the bit I'm watching is where that line, see how it's just slackened off?
Yep.
Then 2 little wiggles, lift it, slacken again, it's on the bottom, lift. As it slackens, that's as simple as that. And keys to doing this, don't use your rod too much. Some people use their rod heaps.
Yep.
And now look at the slack line as I drop my rod back. I've lost control of that lure, so I'm not making it look normal.
Yep.
The whole idea of this is to make this lure look normal and also feel a bite. Barramundi goes and sucks this in, it happens in the blink of an eye. And if he feels something's wrong, it gets spat out.
Gotcha.
So you've got to be in contact with it. A, to make it work and look like the real thing and to vibrate, but also it's so important to feel that bite. Have a practice, I reckon you'll be doing this like a champion in no time.
Here we go, eh?
All right, mate, you're up. Nice, good you go, perfect. Couple of bites there, not quite what we were hoping for, but bites are good. Bites mean you're doing something right and you're agitating the food chain enough. Now it's a case we just find some concentrations of fish. Pressure's well and truly back on me to do that, and then we'll see what Brian can do. This is now all about finding soundings of fish. If we can do that, we stand a chance. It's pretty shallow in there, so you won't, you're on bottom already. Oh, yes. Nice. That's it. Straight away.
Yeah.
How's that? Awesome. There was a fish there. I'll get the net. It's a bit of an overkill net for grunter like that. But anyway, you caught. Is that your first fish on the lure?
Mate, it is.
It's your first fish on the lure. I'm excited to be here for this.
Mate, I'm excited to be here myself.
This is a javelin fish, also known as colloquially as a grunter. You'd be familiar as a bait angler. A lot of guys love chasing these because there he goes, croaking away.
Yep.
They are a very, very nice fish to eat. They do love a bait. You know, obviously downturned mouth, so you can see he spends most of his time sucking up crustaceans and worms, and that grinding that noise they make, he's going to crush up any food that he gets. But they are opportunistic, and a lure that size is obviously no dramas for him. And I'm hoping that's not what I saw on the sound. I reckon there's a couple of bigger ones there, but he might have beaten the bigger ones.
Let's try again, eh?
Mate, you've cracked it. You're off the mark with lures.
One.
Here we can only go upwards.
I hope so. Let's go for it.
I now know that Brian has the ability to fool a fish, and we begin the earnest search for barramundi. Our plan is to now head downriver in search of larger concentrations of fish. The cool thing about that, Brian, being a croc lover, is that's the first croc that I've seen in the Fitzroy. I haven't been here that much, but I've fished here occasionally over the last 5 to 6 years. Very first croc I've seen, and a lot of mates of mine that fish this all the time, they're saying now that the nets are gone, they're seeing crocs every trip. So the ecosystem knows there's no nets and it's starting to pick up again. And the big predators are here, that means the place is getting healthy.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Just don't swim.
Yeah.
No swimming, all right?
Yeah.
This is a big river to explore, and although we are finding soundings of fish, I can't find a technique that will get them to bite. Welcome to the frustrations of barra fishing. It's a fair way into the day now. Ryan doesn't have a barramundi, nor do I. This is not how we had planned the first day to go. We still have some time up our sleeve, but pressure is starting to mount. Come on, Brian. Catch one. They're here.
I'm playing the game, are they?
Nope. I'm now officially struggling as a guide and calling on any help with trying to work out these fish. Local anglers are happy to share information, and apparently we should have been fishing a few particular rocks not far downriver where the fish bit for a brief spell on the run-out tide. Like anywhere, this place will take some time on the water to work it out. Luckily, we have a few days to do this. No, that'll do, mate. We are done. I'll put an optimistic spin on the day and remember that Brian caught his first fish on a lure. He's now retrieving a lure like an absolute legend. Where he's been let down is with a guide that hasn't been able to find an active bunch of fish. So we'll call day one over and come back tomorrow with a new plan. Well done, mate. You done well today.
Been fun, been fun.
Big night's sleep?
Yep, back for round 2.
Back for round 2. Day 2 has started, foggy and cold, with a big challenge ahead, but I reckon today, Brian is up for it. There's a few fish there, Brian.
Yeah?
Yep. There's a couple of shadows. That's a good start. All right, let's start right here. As first light breaks and we get back into the rhythm of casting lures, we still struggle to find a fish that wants to bite. But I know barramundi are fickle creatures and can change their mood quickly. We've just got to keep at it and wait for fortunes to change. We haven't produced a fish at the start of that run-out tide, so the plan now, the sun's starting to rise and the tide's still pretty high and there's a lot of submerged grassland along these banks, and just as it starts to drain off that, I think with it flushing prawns and the like out, there's a chance we might find some shallow water feeders. So we're going to go to some prawn imitation lures and cast shallow and see if we can drum one up. Brian is starting to fish really well, being that he isn't getting a lot of bites. That keeps me confident that when we find an active patch of fish, he has every chance of cracking the barramundi account. Yep, Brian, on. That's not a catty, that's a fish. That's what on. Look at that net handy. It's taken a while. There's a bite. Whew. Oh, stay on, stay on. Oh, it's got some weight too, Brian.
Good.
Got a little bit of an adrenaline kick. Whew. Persistence, hey? Seen a few fish sounding through here and just chose to sit it out and wait for the tide to do its thing and one to come along, and this one has got a bit of weight about it. Using these little soft vibes and just keeping it in contact with the bottom, just off the edges of rocks and off little ledges where fish are likely to tuck away and wait for food to come to them, and just slow little vibrating lifts through those areas. And the fish have been a little bit moody for us, which is sometimes the way it goes. Just to agitate them enough can sometimes be the catalyst to getting a bite. And when the fishing's tough, every bite counts.
Yeah, it certainly does.
This is a bit where you just trust all your knots are good and those sharp little hooks you've stuck on these lures do their job. Let's have a look at you. Yeah. We have a fish, Brian.
Well done. You beauty.
We have a fish.
Well done. Excellent.
Come on, mate, come on. There you go, Brian. We have stumbled across some inactive fish, and there is a sign of just how inactive. I wondered why I didn't get a strong barramundi bite, and that's exactly why. This fish, we spoke about agitation or the eating instinct.
Yep.
And this fish was obviously annoyed by this vibrating little bait fish invading its space, and it's chosen to probably hit it with its body, and it's managed to pull that lure into one of its fins, and it's a very fortunate capture, which you got to take a bit of luck. Particularly, we've been working hard.
Take it when you get it.
We will take those. 70 centimetre fish, chrome silver, very distinctive for our tidal or our saltwater fish. All of these fish start life as males.
Okay.
Okay, so they will go up into the fresh water once they've spawned. They live in the fresh, for those first 2 to 4 years, unless a major flush pushes them out. Their aim is to grow big to adults. Adults is roughly around that 55, 60 centimetre size. They start becoming sexually mature. They are males for around 60 to 80 centimetres.
Right.
Okay, it's roughly around that 80 centimetre, 75, 80 centimetre mark. They start turning into females, but they'll only do it if they've spawned once, at least once. And to spawn, they have to have some marine influence. They can't do it in the fresh, so they have to come down to that saltwater side of things to get the job done. That's a beautiful fish now.
Yeah, beautiful colour.
Brian does love eating fish. I put a lot of my fish back, but if you're going to eat a barramundi, this is it falls into what I call my slot limit. Like I let the big females go.
Yep.
So anything around that 80, 85 centimetre mark, I like to let them go, but anything in that sort of 65 to 75 centimetre mark, beautiful eating fish, and you can just look at the condition of that. It's your typical, beautifully conditioned barramundi, full flanks, bright silver, yellow fins. And I haven't managed to catch Brian a barramundi yet. We're not done yet. We've still got time up our sleeve, but at least I've got him dinner, and we'll look after this very well. So we'll go straight onto ice, we'll bleed it, and that will be a magnificent dinner when you get home, mate.
Sounds good.
2 goes at it. Yep.
Third time lucky.
Third time. What is it? Catfish. It's not doing much. Oh, blue salmon.
Nice.
One of the varieties of salmon that live here, Brian. We've got the king threadfin, and we've also got these guys, the blue salmon. So it's a smaller counterpart. These are the guys that have been running raids up and down the shoreline chasing the prawns and stuff like that. There we go, mate. That is the blue salmon. And check out that snubby nose snout, downturned, so they spend a lot of time fossicking around these muddy shorelines, sucking up shrimp and stuff like that, and you'll notice these filaments here. So that's what he uses to detect vibration. It's a pretty cool little adaptation. He's sticking him forward, he's saying, righto, let me go, which we're about to let go because we're getting back in the water. Tide's turning, you never know. The next one could be your barramundi.
Sounds good.
We'll get him back. Yep, Brian, yes.
Yep.
This one.
Excellent.
I'm not sure what it is. Gave it a decent little clunk. Hasn't done much since. It's got a little bit in it. Got a bit of weight. Right up in the shallows. We're just talking about whether this bite had stopped. Maybe it hasn't yet. And we have certainly covered this bank with casts. We haven't left a stone unturned, so to speak. What have we got here? Oh, it's a barra.
Barra.
It's a barra. And he bit properly, that one.
Nice work. Yes.
Woo. Good work, Brian.
Nice work, mate. Excellent.
They say sometimes barramundi are a fish of 1,000 casts. It's an old cliche. There's times like this, you remember it because there's a lot of casts gone into 2 fish this morning, one that didn't even really want to eat it. That one had a crack.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. Maybe there's another one, Brian.
Awesome.
We've just got to keep casting, mate. We've been trying to imitate the food supplies of barramundi, and it's worth knowing that they are very much opportunistic feeders, and as they grow, their food sources and what they like to eat changes from being insects and larval stuff at the smaller stages. As they get to this size, they get right into the crustaceans and prawns and the like, and then as they get a bit bigger, bait fish, squid, and pretty much anything that'll fit in that mouth. And it's be interesting for Brian to know that when the big ones get really active, they're quite happy eating our smaller crocodiles. Scientists will say that anything up to 50% of their size, it fits in there, they'll eat it. Righto, off you go. The fish have been tough to catch so far on this trip, and we're relying so much on our hooks being sharp, particularly when fish are side-swiping lures. I've managed to hook one in a fin today and one in the cheek, and both fish I've managed to get back to the boat because those hooks are sharp. So on days like that, two of your most important tools, the old split ring pliers and a sharp set of trebles in the tackle box. And don't be afraid to change them the moment you get snagged and those hooks seem a little bit blunt. With the tide running out hard, it's time to head back to the town reaches for a quick fish and then a meeting at the boat ramp to find out more about the history of recent fishing decisions for the Fitzroy River. So as it sounds, we've got to stop fishing for the moment because I've got a couple of people waiting for me at the boat ramp. I'm very keen to chat to them about the decisions that they made here and what their long-term vision for this place is. Councillor Williams, explain the fisheries decisions which have been made here on the Fitzroy River.
Yes, look, going back some time now, there was an announcement from the state government to look at a net-free zone in the Fitzroy. It's something that the Rockhampton Regional Council has supported and worked with the state government through that introduction of a net-free zone. Describe what you've seen since making those decisions. Look, the fishery has really just gone gangbusters since that decision. Proof's in the pudding, really. You've seen some of the catches that are coming out of the river is just phenomenal. The economic benefits there that are coming from the recreational side of it, it's the tackle shops, the bait shops, and the ability to be able to go out and represent Rockhampton as the home of the Barramundi, but also the tourist destinations. People can fly into our airport. From 1 hour landing in the airport, they can be on the water and catching a 1 metre Barramundi in the CBD. There's not many cities in the east coast of Australia that can boast on that type of experience. So one of the most progressive councils that you'll come across, how long is it going to take for all the other councils around up and down the coast to start chasing you guys? Yeah, there's a few of the ears are pricked now, and I've spoken to a number of fellow councillors and nearby councils, and we're looking at even promoting as a Barramundi highway along the Bruce Highway and working with those other councils to come on board and again go out there and promote their locations and their destinations and link into a dovetail to what we've actually got here. We need to be mindful that it's a resource that we don't want to overfish, but we've got to manage that properly. So it's something that the council's very keen to make sure that message gets out there as well. It's time now to head back to the water. With a warm afternoon on the cards and a run in tide, it looks like local anglers are finding a few active salmon in the town reaches. It's a nice school of fish, just quietly. Yep. Go on. Go, go, go. Wind. There we go. There we go. That's a fish. That's it. Now just let him do his thing. I'll get a net. Nice work, Brian. We're thinking this fish is a salmon. Sanded up a few big schools. That's it. Just slowly bring him. Yes. Nice work, mate. I've got adrenaline going. How are you going? Got a bit of adrenaline going?
Going good.
We've waited a long time for this bite. Right in the town reaches. Look at that. Have a look at that, Brian. Okay, bring his head, bring his head, bring his head, bring his head to me. Bring his head to me.
Yeah. Excellent.
All the work.
Oh,
There's been days
finally.
in this. And I told you this is a game where we're just going to have to keep at him and keep at him and keep at him. And I reckon if you wait a couple of days to hook a fish like that,
that's awesome.
That is worth it.
Fantastic.
It's not a barramundi, but this, I reckon.
That's my biggest fish.
That is your biggest fish.
My biggest fish.
It's on a lure. And it's a bucket lister for
That's
you.
too late. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
How's that for a cool design, mate? One of the coolest fish you'll come across. It's the Threadfin salmon, or the king Threadfin. We caught one of his cousins earlier, the blue salmon. This is obviously the big model, and this is one of their coolest features. Look how far forward they throw these filaments. Polynemidai is their name, which means many filaments, which is these things. And they are designed to help them feed. Look at that, he's a prawn feeder, so he can detect vibration. He can also actually herd food into its mouth.
Right, okay.
It's like almost like our hands. You can just go and just push it up and then sucks it in. Like that bite you would have had would have been that. The first bumps could have been the fish just feeling it out, tap of that and then sucking it in. Now I want to get a photo of this, so I'm quickly going to get it back in the water, give it a good breather while we get the camera ready. We'll get a nice still shot for your first salmon.
Sounds good, thank you.
There, nice, back in the net, get him in the water and then we release it. He's pretty happy. to go. Just hold him by the tail. We'll let him get ready. He'll tell you when he wants to go. He's kicking nicely already. And off he goes. We just spotted a big school of fish cruising through the sounder, which don't look to be barramundi, a little bit up off the bottom, and a big thick school of big fish, which I'd say are king threadfin, working their way up and down this river system. Now, there's a lot of boats here fishing, and it does help when the fish are getting pressured to sometimes be a little bit more cunning, what we call bringing some finesse to the game. So we've lightened the leaders, we've gone down to 20-pound leaders and really small prawn imitations to see if we can get one of these to bite.
On again.
Yes, Brian. You know what they're going to do now. Here he goes. Keep that line, keep tension on him. You having fun now, mate?
Yeah, this is what we came for.
Was it worth the 4,000 casts? Follow him round, just watch that motor. That's it, that's it, that's it. That's the way. That's the way. Look at that out of your way. That's it, let him do his thing. They're such a unique fish. You know, one of the things which a lot of the local anglers have noticed is that the moment we've stopped netting, like I'm not against netting in certain situations, but the moment we got rid of nets in this system, the threadfin have come back in force. This is 2 years after nets, and there are so many threadfin now and big ones working their way up and down this system. So already this fishery, particularly with regards to the threadfin salmon, is flourishing.
That's great news, isn't it?
It's down pat, mate. You're down pat.
Excellent.
Oh, and he's a solid fish, Brian. He's a solid fish. It's a beast. Absolute beast, mate. You're killing it now, and I'm so happy. There's so much pressure has just fallen off my shoulders. I can't quite describe how relaxed I am. I think the beer tonight is going to be extra special, mate.
Nice, eh?
And with some good photos to look at. We'll get a quick snap of this, measure it, get it back in the drink. And 1, 2, 3. Righto, buddy. He's jumping. He's going to give his tail a bit of a kick and send him down.
Again.
Yes.
Awesome.
This is a productive section of the river to fish, and you can't help but see how many guides are putting people onto fish here. And I was intrigued to talk to one of them about how the complexion of this fishery has changed in recent years.
Right, my history is I was 8 years of age. My first boat I purchased on this river for $5, a little 5-foot boat, and I was rowing up and down town here every weekend, every chance I could get. And then I went into professional fishing because I loved the river so much. So I went into professional fisherman here. Went netting, crab and line fishing and all that. And then I got out of that in the 90s. And then I thought, well, I'll go in the charter because I love me fishing, love all this sort of stuff. So I'll go on the charter. It's more viable to that. You get paid before you go, where the other one you work your butt off and you got to make your money. So I got in the charter, mate, and absolutely loved it. And so
it's
I've been
easy to see that there are plenty of business opportunities on this river, and that removing nets hasn't depleted commercial activities here. Rather changed their focus to the benefit of guides like Tom and the others who now run successful businesses on this river and the local waters. Brian has now boated 2 threadfin salmon, with the biggest measuring 103 centimetres, which takes some pressure off my shoulders. But we still have that one goal remaining, and that's to catch this elusive barramundi for Brian. The sun is slowly fading, and that is the end of day 2, and it has been a success. We got Brian his first king threadfin, and he's cracked it with 2, 1 over the metre mark. I think now it's back to Rocky for a steak and chips tonight, and come back with the work to do tomorrow of catching him a barramundi. A first-time fish and a new way of fishing mastered is a great reason to put a smile on any angler's face. This day has been one of trials and tribulations, and with 1 day remaining here, all thoughts are now on how we catch Brian a local barramundi. The plan is to get up really early and be fishing before first light to see if some of these barramundi that hear boats through the day might be easier to fool after a night's rest. That's the thinking anyway. Start of our last day here. We've got a lot of work to do to catch Brian and barramundi. He's happy because he's caught something big. We haven't got a barramundi yet, so the pressure, a lot of professional pride is all coming this way. But there's fish here. Yep, go on, yep. I have. It's about to go. This might be a salmon. Oh, that wakes you up. Bright and early. Still dusting off a bit of sleep from that alarm clock. Rudely waking us up. And first cast, you're right into it. Sounder wasn't telling lies. a couple of nice arches showed up, and I'm really keen to see what this is. This is a Barramundi, Brian.
Barramundi?
This is a Barramundi. Hasn't played up on the surface like a Barramundi, but it is a Barramundi. There we go.
Got it.
Oh, yes. It's a
Nice
fish, mate.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
I'm still waking up.
Yeah. First go.
It's just like, this will be almost female size now. It's going to be pushing that 75 plus mark. So the good females, I'm going to let them go and breed. You know, one really good thing that the Fitzroy Council have put in place is a voluntary code of practice, and I think it's awesome. The intent is to basically look after the stock. So what they want you to do is take a fresh feed of fish and then let the rest go, just to continue to look after this resource. And I think it's a fantastic idea. And in line with that, this fish is going back to breed. What a chunk of chrome Fitzroy pleasure. That's what so many anglers are travelling here now to catch. These amazing fish. Look at that big golden tail. It's well and truly a salt runner. A few months' time here, it'll be spawning with the packs when the warm weather arrives and the rains arrive. They'll be making lots more smaller barramundi for anglers to have so much fun with in the years to come. We'll let this one
At
go.
a touch over 81 centimetres, this fish is a solid way to start the morning. With good signs, we may have a barramundi bite on our hands.
There he goes. Yeah, that's it. That might be a barra. That's a barra. Come on. Righto, here he comes. Here he comes. What do we got? What do we got? Show yourself. It's a barramundi. Yeah, it's a barra. That's a barra.
Yes! Beauty!
You've done it.
Excellent!
You've done it.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited, mate. Look at that. Didn't he clunk it?
Just bang, straight away, done.
You know, one of the most satisfying parts of this fish has been watching you become a lure angler in a couple of days. And it's hard work. It's like suddenly you've gone against every part of your muscle memory and learned quite a subtle skill. It's like, it looks quite easy when you watch someone else do it, but the intricacies of making that lure look like the real part is actually quite difficult to begin with. But you've got it down pat now, and I reckon this is the first of many.
That's great. Great. Thank you so much. Excellent. This is great. Came all the way Rocky to get my first barra. Cracked one. Fantastic. Bucket list ticked off.
It might have been. Yep. As I stopped. Wow. It's playing with your lure, Brian. Something just ate mine. It was sitting mid-water and I went, hello. Something's just, I'm pretty sure that's a bite. And it was a bite. Tell you what, Brian.
It's off.
The bite's happening. The bite is happening. Sounds like it's rush hour on the bridge at the moment. It's rush hour down there for the fish at the moment as well. Yes. What a beautiful salmon. One thing that's been interesting to look at these salmon that we've caught, they've got slightly different colorations, and it tells you a little bit maybe about the water that they're following. As we see with barramundi as well, that different coloured fish means different water that they come out of. This one, very, very gold, means he's been living a little bit differently to those more silver ones we've caught yesterday. A first light king threadfin salmon. The fish are biting, this one's going back. We're going to try and get back in the action. There's a bite, there's a bite, there's a bite. There's a bite. Hasn't really woken up yet, I don't think. It's just, hasn't gone yet. It's about to go. There it goes. There it goes. Clunk, clunk, right at our feet. Right at our feet. Yeah, it's a good little bite happening. Salmon. It's obviously a class fish, exactly the same as that last one. So we've got a little bite happening of a particular school of fish hanging around in amongst those barra. So these guys are probably all here doing exactly the same thing. They're feeding on prawns and small bait fish. It's a little patch of reef just underneath the bridge here that we're fishing, and there's obviously, it's their little hunting ground. And they're biting very happily. That's it, I'll swim him in and up, and that's it, yeah. What a beautiful fish, golden. A first light king threadfin salmon. I'm not tired of catching these fish. They're just one of the coolest predators you're going to find in systems like the Fitzroy. We will see you later.
As the light grows, our bite dies down and it's time to explore the river in search of moving groups of fish to see what else we can raise this morning.
The morning session has slowed off a bit. The fish have started to spread out a bit as the sun's getting up. So it's a case now of just getting on the motor, cruising around and seeing if we can find some fish moving up and down. Yep, got one, just sat on it. We spotted him on the sounder. I think the key is we've just really got to search it. Oh, there we go. Yes, Brian.
Got one.
We saw, we cast, and we got. It's hard to believe he's sitting in one of our regional centres, just a stone's throw there, mate. We're going to have a coffee after this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big salmon. Head in first. Oh yeah.
Aim.
Are they just a very interesting looking fish? Almost that snub nose, just a huge mouth, just like the Barramundi. They can fit a really big piece of food in there. They're made for burst of speed, a really tough scaled fish. Beautiful big fins, good directional changes and speed. All earmarks of something that's really good at going about the business of finding its food and eating it. Look down on a predator like these king threadfin and you appreciate just how good they are going about their business. Just look how flared it gets those fins and those big filaments. It covers so much surface area and obviously so good at picking up those vibrations, but almost as working as a set of arms at times just to funnel food into the right spot. Just gives it such a presence in the water. They're just one of the really cool species that you'll find if you come and visit a place like the Fitzroy River. All right, mate.
With the morning session done, it's time for a spot of exploring, and what better way to do it than with the lure out the back. And it doesn't take long for a rod to buckle and Brian to land his second ever Barramundi.
Hey.
It's all right.
Hey. Hey, it's gone.
Yes, Brian. Yes. We're just saying, where have they gone? You found them for us. I was a big speculation, mate, on the sand.
Yeah.
I just saw rubble and I thought there might be a fish in amongst there. Yes. How exciting is it?
Yes, that's awesome.
Get it around. Yes. Well done, my friend. Barramundi and the salmon roll continues. So Brian catching these fish is a really, really lightly weighted jig head and 20-pound line, which for a lot of anglers that spend time chasing barramundi and the like, that's quite a light line class because these fish and barramundi are very abrasive. But just that really light weight that you got, Brian, and that very slight twitching of a little prawn imitation on the bottom is getting these fish undone. And once you get a retrieve right, mate, you stick to it. It is working. Never get tired of seeing these come on board, just because they're such a peculiar looking creature compared to a lot of the fish that we catch. I just love those filaments. And just the systems you find them, there's very unique populations of these right up and down the coastline, and they just manage to find their way into systems and then make them their own. They're very good survivors, and obviously once a population gets set, it just seems to continue to look after itself, and that's what these fish have definitely done in the Fitzroy. And they're now being well and truly looked after by hopefully our recreational anglers and having some freedom to move from no nets. And we will get this one back, see if Brian can crack another one.
I'd come here with pure focus on catching barramundi, but I'm fast falling in love with the numbers and ferocity of these Rockhampton threadfin salmon. Catching them seems to be a case of understanding their movements, finding schools of these fish, and then subtly tempting them to bite.
Yep, good. Nice. Big clunk?
Yep, big clunk.
Good. Could it be a barra? That's a salmon. Slide him in. Well done, mate. Check out that big bucket mouth. Wanted a vibe. And Brian is well and truly, in a few days on the river, tuned in to retrieving shrimp imitations, vibe imitations. And mate, I reckon barramundi, king threadfin salmon
you got him pretty sussed.
Great fun, great fun.
It has been such a satisfying experience to bring Brian, a first-time Barramundi angler, to Rockhampton and watch him learn a new art, master it, and then go on to overcome a cool start and crack some amazing fish, 2 of which are bucket list captures for him. Brian's work is focused around conservation, and it seemed fitting that it was here, in a place with no nets, that he could land these first-time captures. This is a fishery that will continue to improve regards fish numbers. Like anywhere, fish will get smarter where more anglers are chasing them. But that just means you'll need to head to Rocky with a few tricks up your sleeve, because when you arrive, you know you'll find great numbers of fish waiting for you. For details on all the equipment we used in today's show, head to our website afn.com.au, follow the links to the fishing show, and we'll tell you exactly what we used. And to stay up to date with our latest adventures, head to our Facebook page, AFN Fishing and Outdoors, and you'll find out exactly where we are and when.
It's Bill Klassen here from The Fishing Show, and if you like this instructional video and want to learn more, it's simple. Go to fishingshowtv.com.au and see a whole host of additional videos.